The bride starved her guests. So I ordered 20 pizzas to the reception. I stared down at the white ceramic plate in front of me, trying to understand if this was a joke or some kind of avant-garde art installation that I was too blue-collar to understand. In the center of the plate, resting on a smudge of green paste that looked disturbingly like lawn clippings, was a single, raw zucchini noodle. Just one. It was curled into a spiral, like a sad little worm that had given up on life. Next to it was a cherry tomato, cut in half to make it look like there was more of it. That was it. That was the main course. I looked to my left. My brother, Mark, the groom, was staring at his own plate with the hollow, thousand-yard stare of a man who knows he has made a terrible mistake but is already legally bound to it. His tuxedo was slightly too big for him now. He'd lost 15 pounds in the last 2 months on the pre-wedding cleanse his fiancée, Sierra, had insisted on. "Mark," I whispered, leaning in so the videographer hovering 3 feet away wouldn't catch my audio. "Tell me there's a steak coming. Tell me there's a chicken breast. Tell me there is a literal block of tofu hidden under the table. Anything." Mark didn't look at me. He just picked up his fork, which felt heavy and ridiculous in his hand considering he was about to eat a vegetable that weighed less than a paperclip. "This is it, Dave," he hissed back, his voice cracking. "It's the harvest spiral. It nourishes the soul. My soul doesn't need nourishment, Mark. My stomach does. I haven't eaten since breakfast because you said there would be a feast. It is a feast," Mark recited, like a hostage reading a ransom note. "A feast of purity." I looked up at the head table. Sierra, the bride, was glowing. And I don't mean that in the blushing bride sense. I mean she had the shiny, manic sheen of an influencer who knows she is currently streaming to 50,000 followers. She held up her zucchini noodle to her iPhone, finding the perfect lighting, smiling that wide, terrifying smile that never quite reached her eyes. "To health," she announced to the silent, starving room. "To high vibrations." She took a bite. The crunch echoed in the dead silence of the reception hall. The venue was a repurposed industrial loft in downtown Los Angeles. Exposed brick, cold concrete floors, and absolutely zero ventilation. It smelled like essential oils and resentment. Sierra had banned all animal products, all processed foods, all gluten, all sugar, and, most crucially, all alcohol from the wedding. She called it a detox celebration. I called it a hostage situation with better lighting. I looked around the room. There were 80 guests. Family, friends, co-workers. And every single one of them looked miserable. My cousin Mike was chewing on a piece of ice just to give his jaw something to do. Uncle Jerry was checking his watch every 30 seconds. And then there was Grandma. Grandma Betty is 85 years old. She survived the Great Depression, raising 4 kids on a single income, and hip surgery. She put on her best floral dress for this. She had her hair done. And now she was sitting there, her hands shaking slightly, staring at a piece of raw vegetable like it was a personal insult. "David," Grandma whispered to me. Her voice was weak. "Is there bread? I think they forgot the bread basket." "There's no bread, Grandma," I said, feeling the anger start to simmer in my gut. "Grain clouds the mind. Sierra said so in her speech. My mind is going to get plenty cloudy if my blood sugar drops any lower," she snapped, a flash of her old fire coming back. "I need protein. I need a roll. I need a drink." I looked back at Sierra. She was laughing at something her maid of honor, a girl named Luna who looked like she subsisted entirely on matcha tea and self-importance, had said. They were clinking glasses of lukewarm lemon water. They looked fantastic. Of course they did. This was their brand. This wasn't a wedding, it was a content creation event. The guests were just props. I checked my phone. 7:15 p.m. The reception was scheduled to go until midnight. 5 more hours of this. 5 more hours of vibrational eating and speeches about how toxins are the enemy of love. My stomach gave a loud, angry growl that sounded like a heavy metal bass line. The guy sitting across from me, one of Mark's college buddies, looked me in the eye and nodded solemnly. He understood. We were soldiers in the trenches, and our rations had been cut. The waiters began to clear the plates. Most of them were still clean because people had eaten the zucchini in one bite. I watched as the staff, who looked apologetic and embarrassed, took away the feast. "What's for dessert?" Grandma asked, hope springing eternal in the human breast. "Carob dust and frozen banana mash," I said, reading the menu card that was printed on recycled hemp paper. "No cake. No cake," Grandma repeated. Her voice rose an octave. "It's a wedding. Who doesn't have cake?" "Sugar is poison, Grandma." "She's poison," Grandma muttered, glaring at the bride. That was it. That was the moment the heat in my neck turned into a full-blown fire. I looked at my brother, who was currently being directed by Sierra to pose for a candid, laughing photo while holding a glass of water. He looked miserable. He looked like a prop in his own life. I stood up. "I'm going to the bathroom," I announced. "Don't be long," Mark said, panic flashing in his eyes. "The speeches are starting. You're the best man. You have to toast the aesthetic." "Oh, I'll toast something all right," I muttered. I walked out of the reception hall, past the table with the guest book, which was just a pile of river rocks we were supposed to write intentions on with a Sharpie, and out the heavy steel doors into the cool night air of the parking lot. I took a deep breath, inhaling the smog of LA. It smelled like freedom. It smelled like tacos from a truck 3 blocks away. I pulled out my phone. My hands were shaking, not from nerves, but from low blood sugar rage. I opened Google Maps. I searched for pizza. Domino's. 1.2 miles away. Open. I hit the dial button. "Thank you for calling Domino's on Figueroa, this is Chris, how can I help you?" "Chris," I said, my voice serious as a heart attack. "Listen to me very carefully. I have an emergency. A nutritional emergency." Okay." Chris sounded bored, but he was about to become a hero. "I need pizzas. A lot of them. I need 20 large pepperoni pizzas. And throw in 5 cheese ones for the vegetarians who aren't insane. And do you have those little bread twist things? Parmesan bread bites?" "Yes. Those. I need 10 boxes of those. And soda. Coke. The real stuff. With the red label and all the sugar. Cases of it if you have it." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. I could hear the hum of the ovens in the background. "Dude," Chris said. "That's like a $500 order. I can't just make 20 pies on a prank call. This isn't a prank. I am at the Art District Lofts on 4th. There are 80 starving people being held hostage by a raw vegan influencer. If you don't bring me this food, there will be a riot. I will tip you $100 cash on arrival. Can you do it? 20 pepperonis. 5 cheese. 10 bread bites. Sodas. 45 minutes. Make it 30 and I'll make the tip 200. See you in 30. I hung up the phone and leaned against the brick wall. I felt like a resistance leader coordinating an airdrop of supplies behind enemy lines. I checked my watch. 7:30 p.m. I walked back inside. The atmosphere had shifted from bored to hostile. The speeches had begun. Luna, the maid of honor, was currently holding the microphone, weeping gently about how Sierra had cleansed her spirit during a retreat in Tulum. And when Sierra told me she was cutting out cooked food, I thought, wow, brave. But looking at this room, looking at the energy here, I know she was right. We are light beings. We don't need heavy, dead matter to sustain us. I looked at Grandma. She was slumped in her chair, eyes closed. She looked like a light being whose battery had died. I sat down next to Mark. "Hang in there," I whispered. "I'm so hungry, Dave," he whispered back. "I feel dizzy. Help is on the way." "What?" "Just wait." The speeches dragged on. Sierra's father spoke about how much money he saved on catering, disguised as a compliment about her fiscal responsibility to the planet. Sierra's yoga instructor gave a toast to their chakras. Every time the kitchen door opened, 80 heads snapped toward it, hoping for a surprise slider, a pig in a blanket, a cracker. Anything. But it was just more pitchers of lemon water. At 7:55 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number, I'm outside. Blue Honda Odyssey. I look like the pizza fairy. I stood up. Bathroom again, I told Mark. You have a small bladder, Sierra snapped from the head table. She didn't have a microphone, but her voice cut through the room. Maybe it's the toxins leaving your body. Maybe, I said, smiling at her. Or maybe I'm just making room for the main course. I walked out. I didn't run, but I walked with purpose. I burst through the steel doors and there he was. Chris. The pizza fairy. He had the trunk of his minivan open, and it was stacked floor to ceiling with white and blue boxes. The smell hit me like a physical blow: warm yeast, melted cheese, spicy pepperoni, garlic. It was the best thing I had ever smelled in my life. You're a legend, I told him, handing him a wad of cash. Help me stack them on the hood. We made a tower of pizza on the hood of his car. It looked like a monument to cholesterol. I grabbed 4 boxes and walked to the door of the venue. I propped it open with a rock. Then I walked back, grabbed 4 more. Now, here was the plan. I couldn't bring them inside. Sierra would flip a table. I had to lure the guests out. I walked just inside the doorway, holding a box of pepperoni. I opened the lid. I wafted the scent toward the tables like a cartoon character using a fan. The ventilation in the room was terrible, which worked in my favor. The smell of hot pizza moved through the stagnant air like a shark through water. Heads turned. Noses twitched. The yoga instructor stopped mid-sentence about the sacred vessel of the body. I saw my cousin Mike sniff the air. His eyes locked onto me. He saw the box. He saw the pepperoni. His eyes went wide. I nodded toward the door. Come. Mike didn't hesitate. He stood up. Fresh air, he mumbled, and practically sprinted toward me. When he got to the door, I handed him a slice. He shoved it into his mouth hole, burning the roof of his mouth, and groaned with pure, unadulterated pleasure. Oh my God, he moaned. It's real. Go tell the others, I commanded. Quietly. Tell them the supply drop is in the parking lot. Mike nodded. He wiped the grease from his chin and went back in. It started as a trickle. A smoker going out for a cigarette. An uncle needing to check on the car. But the smell was spreading. It was undeniable now. The scent of cooked food in a raw vegan wedding is like blood in the water. Grandma was the one who broke the dam. She stood up. She grabbed her cane. She looked at Sierra, who was now glaring at the guests who were shuffling around. I smell cheese, Grandma announced. Her voice carried. I smell bread. And I am going to find it. She marched toward the door. When she saw me, and the stack of boxes on the minivan hood visible through the glass, she let out a cry of joy. Pizza, she yelled. That was the signal. The pretense dropped. The guests rose as one. It was a stampede. Where are you going? Sierra demanded, standing up. We haven't done the gratitude circle yet. Screw the circle, Sierra. Uncle Jerry yelled over his shoulder. I need calories. They poured out of the venue. All 80 of them. They surrounded the minivan. Chris the driver looked a little terrified as he was swarmed by men in tuxedos and women in evening gowns, all clamoring for a slice. One at a time. I yelled, standing on the curb like a general. There is enough for everyone. Grandma gets first pick. I handed Grandma a slice of pepperoni. She took a bite, closed her eyes, and leaned against the Honda. Bless you, David, she whispered. You are the favorite grandson. I'm changing the will tomorrow. I know, Grandma. Eat up. It was a beautiful scene. People were laughing, talking, wiping tomato sauce off their chins. The tension that had choked the room for 3 hours vanished. The vibe that Sierra had tried so hard to force was finally happening, fueled by grease and carbohydrates. Then, the doors banged open. Sierra stood there. She was framed by the light of the venue, looking like a vengeful angel of kale. Mark was standing a few steps behind her, looking terrified. What? She screeched. Her voice wasn't an aesthetic whisper anymore. It was a banshee wail. What is happening? The chewing stopped. Everyone looked at the bride. Grandma took another bite, defiantly. You. Sierra pointed a manicured finger at me. You brought poison to my wedding. I brought dinner, Sierra, I said, holding a box. Because you didn't. This is a place of purity, she screamed, stomping down the stairs in her sustainable hemp heels. You are ruining the aesthetic. You are polluting the air with the smell of death. It's pepperoni, Sierra. It's not death. It's delicious. I can't believe this, she sobbed, pulling out her phone. I thought she was going to call the cops. Instead, she started recording us. Look at this, she narrated to her camera, tears streaming down her face. My own family, disrespecting my journey. They are eating processed filth in the parking lot. This is the trauma I deal with. Sierra, put the phone down, Mark said softly. He had walked down the stairs. Don't talk to me, she snapped at him, panning the camera to his face. Your brother ruined our day. Tell him to leave. Tell them all to leave. Mark looked at her. Then he looked at the guests. He looked at his grandmother, who was happily chewing on a bread bite. He looked at the pizza boxes. He walked over to me. Mark, no. Sierra screamed. Don't you dare. Mark looked me in the eye. Is there any meat lovers left? Saved you a slice, bro. I opened the bottom box. Mark picked up a slice. It was greasy. It was heavy. It was beautiful. Mark. Sierra shrieked. If you eat that, I will not kiss you tonight. You will taste like murder. Mark didn't hesitate. He took a massive bite. He chewed. He swallowed. He let out a sigh that sounded like a deflating tire. Worth it, he said. I want a divorce. Sierra screamed, stomp-turning and running back into the venue. We haven't even signed the certificate yet. Mark called after her. Then he took another bite. Actually, maybe don't sign it. The parking lot erupted in cheers. Someone popped a can of Coke. The party had finally started. We spent the rest of the night out there. The reception hall remained empty, save for Sierra and Luna, who presumably sat inside eating raw zucchini in sad, superior silence. Out in the lot, we had music blasting from the minivan stereo. We had laughter. We had food. Mark sat on the curb next to Grandma, eating his third slice. He looked tired, but he looked happier than he had all day. You know she's going to kill you, right? He asked me. She can try, I said. But she's weak from lack of protein. I can outrun her. I think I'm done, Dave, Mark said quietly, wiping tomato sauce from his lip. I think I realized something when she yelled at Grandma for eating. Yeah. What's that? That I don't want to spend the rest of my life apologizing for being hungry. The next morning, the fallout was nuclear. Sierra posted a 10-minute video titled, My Wedding Was Hijacked by Carnivores, where she cried and accused me of energetic assault. Her followers left thousands of mean comments on my Instagram, calling me a flesh eater and a vibration vampire. But the family? The family treated me like I had stormed the beaches of Normandy. Uncle Jerry Venmo'd me for the pizza. Grandma sent me a card with a check for $500 inside. Mark and Sierra are currently separated and seeking annulment. Apparently, the pizza was just the tipping point. The real issue was that Mark refused to go on a repentance fast for eating the pepperoni. I look back at the photos from that night. There are no professional shots of the reception. Just grainy cell phone pictures of my family standing under streetlights, holding paper plates, smiling with red sauce on their faces. It wasn't the aesthetic wedding Sierra wanted. It wasn't the Instagrammable moment she planned. But it was the best wedding dinner I've ever had. So, I have to ask the internet, because Sierra's followers are still sending me death threats written in emojis, am I the monster for ruining her raw vegan vision, or did she get exactly what she deserved for trying to starve 80 people in the name of an aesthetic?
If you have made it this far and want to see more videos like this, then kindly subscribe and turn on notifications, so you may never miss another story like this.